I just thought I'd make a video about ADHD, ASD, spectrum disorders, because I see quite a few people that on my profile that suspect that they've got it, and they've questioned me about themselves. So I thought I'd make this video. But there is help out there, guys. Obviously, we're from a different generation than the children of today. Obviously, in my day, there wasn't no autism or no anything else, come to think of it. We just still got the same treatment. But obviously, being diagnosed with ASD now and ADHD, and being on my medication over a year now, I feel quite confident in talking about it. But there's a few people that I know that are not that confident in talking about it. But I just want to reassure you that you can get out. You really ought to talk to your doctor about the way you're feeling. And also, the medication will change your life. The past year, obviously people have seen me build my music room, doing all the things I'm doing. I've not been able to do that throughout all my life. So I'm now doing things I could only really dream of. Which is probably the strangest thing of it all, is the fact you go from sort of fairly non-active to really active and interested in things. So I'm just making a coffee, you have to bear with me. Bit of a late riser today. And again, the whole world looks a bit subdued out there, to be honest, since the Queen's died. Quite sad, really. Just recording some Bob Marley. Bit of Bob. Got the decks out. In fact, I've had a guy message me wanting to buy my other techniques. But I won't let that on too loud. Otherwise we'll get a Facebook block. Anyway, I'm just going to change this record, guys, and then I'll carry on with my conversation. In fact, I'm going to put a tape on. I've listened to too many records the last few days. Going to end up having fucking record eyes. In fact, let's fire up the old. Got the old tape deck on the top. If I find the right tape. That's the one. If it works. So what's that we need? Anyway, I'll just turn this. Anyway, if you suspect you might have any kind of disorder, and it's quite very common to get other disorders running alongside your disorder, which is called a comorbid disorders. And that's where you might have OCD or ADHD running alongside. Obviously I've got ADHD and ASD, but because of my ADHD and the ASD, I've got a little bit of OCD. I see a lot of people, especially females, it's very prevalent in females. I see a lot of females with OCD, but mine's very, very mild. I don't arrange things in neat rows or anything like that. It's a question of, I'll lock the back door and I'll go back. I used to go back about 10 times to check that I'd done it, but now I've managed to whittle that down to maybe twice. And also because of the ADHD, I've got an eating disorder, which all sort of dates back to when you were a child. Obviously a child's brain with ADHD is going to be searching for dopamine, which is a chemical in the brain, and you get that through eating shit food, sweets, chocolate, doing naughty stuff. That's why ADHD kids are off the scale, because their brain's programmed to just search out the dopamine, whereas a normal brain would already have that. But the first thing I'd suggest to anybody out there would be going to your doctor. Because to be honest with you, when my doctor, I didn't go to my doctor and say, "Oh, I think I've got ADHD." He questioned me and said to me about it. But the first thing you really ought to do is talk to your doctor. There are treatments out there for, to be honest, the autism treatments, there's not really any autism treatments. What they really will give people for that is an antidepressant, which I was taking anyway, even before my diagnosis. But the ADHD, there are 2 or 3 medications out there that can be used. Dexamphetamine, methylphenidate. Not that I've tried the methylphenidate. I've heard people having great success on that. I can only talk for the lisdexamphetamine, which is the 12-hour release pill, and the dexamphetamine, which is an instant medication. I can only talk for them. And what I can say is, if you've got ADHD, you get it diagnosed, and you start your medication, it will take you into a world you never even knew existed. In fact, the real you, who you really are, you probably don't even know. Because the last year I've been doing all sorts of stuff, which I couldn't have done before. People have seen me with my electronics, with my music room. I couldn't have got that organised before. Don't get me wrong, guys, it doesn't cure the world, for sure. But obviously, from somebody from my generation, it's quite mind-blowing. Obviously, the kids today have got a far better chance in life than my generation. Plus, they're understood. People were very judgmental in my day. Times have changed. I'd say the kids now have got a very good chance at school. Well, I've got to have a sit down because I've just been rushing about. I'm going to forward this for a certain tune on here. Might play a few records later. But the one thing I've got to warn people, anybody that's going to get diagnosed, there's a few of you out there on my friends list that should really go and have a look into it. You know you are, there's probably 4 or 5 of you. But I've got to say, the waiting list, be prepared for the waiting lists, because obviously I had a 2-year waiting list for my ADHD assessment, and just as long as wait for the ASD one. But obviously once you've been through that rigmarole of getting a diagnosis, that's when your life starts changing. But when my doctor first said to me, go home and learn about ADHD, I went and watched a documentary, well, more of a lecture, from a university in London, a professor, and I watched that, and they went to a section on ADHD in adults and older people and what it would look like today. And I'll tell you what, as soon as they started going on about it, light bulbs were going off in my brain. I thought, wow. And the more you realise you've got it, it's just crazy. But I suppose the most frustrating bit about the diagnosis is the waiting, and also your doctor. My doctor got quite frustrated because your GP isn't qualified in. It's a neurological disorder. It's a brain disorder. He's not qualified in them, so he can't give you any medication for it. But what happens is you'll be allocated, after your diagnosis, you'll be allocated a doctor, a professional ASD, ADHD doctor, who will prescribe you your medication. And what they do, they write to your surgery, to your GP, and your GP, you ask your GP if he's happy to take over the prescribing. Some of them are, some of them ain't. And my GP obviously was happy to take over. But every time you want to alter the medication or speak to your ADHD doctor, it's very, very hard, which is why I went to the CCG to get all mine sent to the Maudsley Hospital in South London. So I've got one doctor now who diagnosed me, who's going to be dealing with all of it. Because it's not just medication, there is CBT therapy and stuff that goes with it. The medication without the therapy is a bit pointless, they go hand in hand and vice versa. But the CBT, I've not started that yet. Obviously I've been communicating with the CCG for a while, but now that's all done, I'm going to be going to South London. It might be done by video phone, I'm not too sure, but what I can say is the medication, I'm on the maximum dose of that, which is basically amphetamine, but it's not. Obviously a lot of people on here have done speed like I've done myself back in the day, but it's completely not like It's not like what shit you get off the street. This is proper pharmaceutical stuff. And it's just, obviously if you had one of these tablets, you'll be off the scale for a week, but I can do one of these and go to sleep. It actually relaxes me. So we take one of them in the morning and that'll last you 12 hours, but because of the size of me and the way I exercise with my hyperactivity as well, I've got quite a quick metabolism, so it burns through quickly. So in the afternoon I take, which is upstairs, another tablet which is called dexamphetamine. That's instant working tablet. I'm going to be uploading this video to YouTube as well, to my ADHD page. But some people I've seen a lot of people getting on this and just not handling it. I think, well, I actually said to my doctor and my ADHD doctor, because I've come from quite a naughty background, where I've done a few things, substances, I feel that that's really helped me. Because obviously you go through titration, you have your ECGs every, what is it, I have to have them every 3 months. I have an ECG, but that's so they can keep an eye on your body reacting to this, because it's also used for binge eating, to stop binge eating, which is another fight people have with the medication. Is obviously you need to eat, but this medication is not only used for ADHD, it's used for eating disorders, so this will stop you eating. So you're fighting two battles there, which I've found probably the hardest battle out of all of it that I've found. But a year into it, I've passed every test on my physicals. Lost a bit of weight, and the nurse pulled me up on that, and then I put weight on. And you'll get aches and pains in your body like you've never had before, because obviously going from a non-stimulated person to a stimulated person when you've got ADHD is quite a shift. My doctor thinks the only reason I've fared quite well is because obviously all my life I've been running about riding bikes, and that's due to the hyperactivity, we now know. And I think that stood me in good stead to get as far as I have on these. But then again, I am on a very high dose of this, which is 70 milligrams. It's all due to your metabolism, though. They say 12 hours, but obviously everybody's metabolism is different. And this one, the dexamphetamine, is a metabolizing drug, so it works throughout the day, and every hour it'll fire off some medication, which obviously gets to your brain, which creates the dopamine, which is what ADHD people lack. As for the autism, obviously there's different scales of autism. You've got autism with learning difficulties, and you've got high functioning autism, which is what I've got. And it's the same with ADHD. You can get ADHD with learning difficulties, or you can get high functioning ADHD. And obviously all my ADHD and ASD is all high functioning, so I got no problem learning. Obviously my issue at school was I'd only learn things that I enjoyed. The rest your brain to switch off to. That's the way an ADHD kid's brain works. I feel like it's about 10 in the morning where I got up a bit late. Now I'm doing my ADHD speech. If you've got kids out there that got ADHD, or you might have a little girl out there that's got ADHD, obviously it's more relevant in males, but I'm seeing a lot more females now with ADHD and different disorders. But don't go too hard on your kids, because at the end of the day it's not their fault. They've got like a chemical imbalance in their brain, and obviously kids from my generation were just fucking beaten and thrown about and just all of that shit. But in the ADHD group, I see a lot of mums posting up, my little Tommy's doing this and that, and is that normal? And I quite often butt in, because obviously I was a kid with ADHD and autism, so I know what they do, and I've reassured these mums that it's quite normal, and don't be too hard on your little Tommy or little Sally or whoever, because at the end of the day it ain't their fault. An ADHD brain unmedicated would always go towards the naughty option, because it's going to create more dopamine, it's going to create more excitement. It's weird, it works subconsciously how it all works. But it's quite interesting actually. I didn't know anything about ADHD a couple of years back. 4 years ago I didn't know anything. Obviously I've come a long way, and now I feel quite confident in helping people and talking about it, because it does need talking about. It's not just children that have got it, it's adults as well, and there's even old blokes in their 70s getting diagnosed with autism, and that's because you can be married, or like me, I was looking after my dad all my life, but when you're left alone, boom, that ADHD and autism will come to the forefront. So you often find a lot of people that have lost their spouses after that, when they're left on their own, that's when it comes to the forefront, and they first realise it. Obviously I knew I was different. Even when I was at primary school, I used to stand there and think, I'm not the same as these kids, but obviously you couldn't say anything, because you probably would have got beat up or something, you know what I mean? It was a very vicious world that we all grew up in. Not like now, there's a lot more understanding, and the fact that I'd spoken to my father about it, and he told me what he was like at Adhd school. So obviously when I got my diagnosis and learned it was all genetic, it all fitted, the jigsaw puzzle fitted. I think if you went down Adhd school and got out the naughty boy book, you'd probably find me in there, my dad and my granddad, because that's where it all came from. It's all genetic and gets passed down. Still, it's quite nice, because I never met my granddad. It's quite nice knowing that I've got something from him. And obviously me and my dad have sat there before and said we were on the same channel, me and my dad, and obviously now I know why we were on the same channel. But it's very interesting, and it is a complete journey. I've got to say, it's been a complete journey. And some people have said to me, oh, ain't it a bit late? And no, it's not a bit late, because the medication changes your life. Obviously I'm 51, so the way I'm looking at it is my Clarion housing, my last little bit of life is going to be good, because I'm living the life now that normal people would have lived. You know what I mean? I've now got the motivation and enthusiasm just like a normal brain. It's just took 50 years to somebody to go, you've got that, because obviously if you're born today, it gets picked out by the age of 3. So you'd be medicated by the time you got to primary school. Which I can't even imagine, to be honest with you. Sorry about my little music interludes. Smiley culture. I've also set some more decks up in my music room because it was so hot in summer. I moved these decks down here, the Techniques, but upstairs I've set up some more decks. I don't know if it works though because I plugged it all in. I'll show you quickly. And I've also put one of my Techniques decks up on. I'm in this group. This is the music I was looking for. In fact, I'll just stop that. I'll show you this other deck, guys. In fact, I can make this a longer video because I do ADHD and music videos on YouTube. So this can be a bit of a cross subject discussion. Where have I put that? That's the problem. That's the only thing that does my heading still with ADHD. Well, a lot of things do my heading, but you'll sit down and you'll put something somewhere, and obviously because I've got the attention deficit part of it. Some people just have what's called ADD, attention deficit disorder. Obviously I've got hyperactivity with mine, but the deficit disorder bit, you can be sitting somewhere and you'll put something next to you, and then a minute later you'll think, where did I put that? And you'll look all around the house for like half hour, and you just think, what the hell have I put that? And you'll sit down, and the moment you sit down, you'll see it right next to you. I quite often get that occurring, which is quite trippy, but I just live with that at the end of the day. But I'll tell you what, it's really good understanding it all. And also you've got, I think it's the SEN, deal with all the kids, autism and stuff. I've heard a lot of mixed reports them though, on the children's autism services. I can only speak for the adult ADHD services, which I've got to say are not great. They're really poor. But obviously I've found out a lot about it, and it's all underfunded, basically. But up in the music room, I've got my Pioneer amp now. I set this Denon deck up. Got this little one here, and then I've got this Techniques here. This is the one I uploaded onto the website. The Techniques Owners Group. Apparently that one there is really rare, which is an JR110, I think, without looking. But basically I had a guy inbox me saying, oh, you've got the last one I need for my collection. If you live in England, would it ever possibly be for sale? And obviously I'm into me silver Techniques, so I've messaged him that I'm in England, and possibly it's for sale. But I'll put some more speakers up, guys. Put that big one up there. And then I've got the Bose speaker up there. Disco ball. I've still got all the lights that I've made. People have probably seen me LED videos. Let's buy no under that. It's all my mum's music, work. Albums my mum made. That's the first ever single the Vernon's girls made. That's all of them together. Slammer, when we bought the Slammer back, 2009. In fact, I've got a little Slammer wall up here. There I am. Out to Colin and all the Slammer crew. On that one as well. So I'm just taking my antidepressant and my dexamphetamine. In fact, I'm going to be coming off. Obviously, I've been misdiagnosed all my life. Depression and all that shit. My depression was basically caused by undiagnosed ADHD, ASD all my life. So, obviously now I'm being treated for me brain disorders. I'm going to wean myself off of these antidepressants because, but saying that, I will just say, for all you depressed people out there, a bit of exercise and getting off the sofa, right, can do you wonders. But what I will also say, I see a lot of people, oh, antidepressants don't work, this, that and the other. I started, right, this was, what was it, it's over 10 years ago. I took my first proper course of antidepressants, and no lie, it took me from one world into another, and so they do work. And they were called citalopram, and I'm now on another one which is called escitalopram. No doubt a lot of people will be watching this and think, oh, I'm on citalopram, but that is a really good drug. And what this does, there's another chemical in your brain which is called serotonin. And you might have depression if you used a lot of ecstasy tablets back in the day, because that would deplete your serotonin. So all you depressed XE heads out there, it's probably why you're depressed. But it can be cured, guys. You can take these, which then correct the balance of chemicals within your brain. And people say, and what happens is you don't have to be on these for life, guys. Basically, once the chemical imbalance has been corrected, if you wean yourself off of these, your body should then start creating the chemical itself, the serotonin itself, and that's how that chemical process works. Sounding like a doctor. Oh shit, pressed the wrong button. Anyway, I'm going to drink my coffee and listen to a bit of the Beat. In fact, going to see the Beat twice next year. London and Brighton. Anyway, if you've got any questions about ASD with adults or ADHD for adults, let me know. I'm going to be putting this video on YouTube just to raise awareness, because people ain't got a clue. I didn't have a clue. I'm not moaning about that. Obviously, different generations, different stuff, basically. But whatever you're doing, have a good one. I'm out of here. Have a great great weekend, whatever you're doing. I'd just like to say, I hope the Queen rests in peace. I've seen a lot of, I'm no royalist, guys, believe me, as people probably know, but I do the coins and all that, and I think it's quite sad. And even if you don't like the royal family, that's still somebody's mother. Maybe some people haven't lost their mothers and fathers and don't know how that feels, but it's still somebody's gran, isn't it? Somebody's sister. I can understand a lot of the bad vibes about history involving the royal family and colonialism, and that's what a lot of it's about, but I think it's quite sad anyway. Anyway, whatever you're doing, have a good one. I'm out of here.